They'd raided what was left of the village and found some useful stuff, but headed back towards the town square once it started getting dark, with Nicole suggesting to the others that they set camp for the night. Though Dino Tigermon said that they could stay the night at his house, though there wasn't much food lately as he'd cleared out most of what was left when the town was abandoned. Nicole told him that he had some food stored in the multi-tool they could eat, with the armored Digimon nodding and leading the way back to their house. And once there, Nicole made several bits of food appeared, with Kuzuhamon saying she'd cook so it would taste better, and Nicole made the spices that he had with him appear as well, letting her get to it. While Kuzuhamon was doing her thing in the kitchen, she'd kicked the others out of the room, though Nicole already knew not to bother her when she was cooking and left before he was yelled at. They sat talking about what had been going on in the digital world, helping to catch Dino Tigermon up on what all had happened, and he seemed interested hearing that they were in the human world for a bit. They were able to enjoy the food, and it was good since Dino Tigermon was able to get his fill, something he hadn't been able to do in a very long time. He told his niece that she had grown up to be a very good cook, much better than her father used to, joking about Ostamon burning salad, making everyone laugh as Kuzuhamon enjoyed herself, talking about her father with her uncle. They had gotten their fill, and Dino Tigermon let them stay at his house for the time being. Though there weren't many beds to rest, as the others were resting, Kuzuhamon couldn't sleep, which Nicole had taken notice to and stood up, following as she'd walked outside before asking if she was alright. Though his girlfriend said that she was, she just needed to do something before they left in the morning, as she looked down sad. Our main Digidestined asked what that was, and she said she was afraid to do it alone, asking if perhaps he would go with her to do this. Nodding, he said that he would, and she began walking with Nicole right behind her every step of the way, until she stopped at another house that was in the village, telling him this was her home before all that happened, but she was scared to go in alone. Nicole told Kuzuhamon that he would go in with her if she wanted, and his girlfriend nodded, wanting to go in, but not by herself. So they slowly went to the door and walked in together. They looked around, and she'd said that this place was just as they left that day, going over to the old framed photo of her family and starting to cry, with Nicole wrapping her in his arms, letting his girlfriend get it out of her system. He tried to do his best to help her feel better, but she just needed to have a good cry. But soon she'd started feeling a little better and asked Nicole if he would light the fireplace. She wanted to stay there for the night and didn't want to remember her home being cold. Nodding, he then started up the fireplace so that it would warm up for the two of them, and stood, saying they should search for anything they could sleep on in the main area to keep an eye on the fire. Kuzuhamon went to a closet nearby and tried to remember where the blankets were. Having to go upstairs, Nicole had checked the couch, curious if it would be comfortable or not, though he'd noticed something while messing with the cushion he was trying to fluff and saw a handle. Wondering if he was right, he then pulled on it. Though a bit hard to pull out, he'd found that it was a pull-out couch. The frame, however, didn't look supportive, and so he pulled the mattress off of it and forced it to fold back up, throwing the cushions down onto the old thing, beating the dust off of them before he did so, as his girlfriend came back with a couple of large and heavy blankets they could use, and the two laid down relaxing beside the fire, with it being just the two of them. It was comforting being in her old home in a way. Nicole says that he always did love the smell of wood burning ever since growing up with his grandparents having a wood burning stove for heat. His girlfriend nodding, saying that she found the smell of the fireplace comforting too. Something about it was very relaxing to be around, as the two were laying there watching the flames dance around inside the fireplace together, and she'd enjoyed this since they didn't usually get little moments like this. He smiled softly and gently kissed his girlfriend where her neck met her shoulder, saying once this was all over they'd have plenty more little moments like this, as Kuzuhamon nodded, turning towards facing Nicole, and said that she was looking forward to that, now also having a soft smile as the two shared a gentle kiss together, enjoying their time being alone together, just the two of them. We then see Kuzuhamon's purple kitsune mask being placed by her hand onto the ground just shy of the top of the head of of the mattress the two were on. The fires lasted through the night just as Nicole had assumed that they would, and the next morning he'd gotten up and quietly put a few more logs onto the pyre so that it wouldn't die out and they'd be able to stay warm, stretching out as he yawned before putting the screen back in place to keep the sparks from flying out of the fireplace. Deciding to do something nice for his girl, Nicole went to the kitchen of the house and began cooking breakfast, though he wasn't as good a cook as she was, but he could still hold his own. It was edible at the very least. Slightly later on, Kuzuhamon slowly began waking up under the heavy blankets and reached out from under them for her mat, finding it and putting it back on before getting up slowly. Kuzuhamon walked towards the kitchen with a yawn while having the blankets wrapped around her, and found that Nicole actually had made breakfast for the two of them. This did make her smile since she wasn't really used to others cooking for her. It was nice having breakfast just the two of them, and they had a chance to talk about what the plans were for what to do next after they left the empty village.